Toshdelek, welcome to Tibettv's weekly analysis. Known for his activism for Tibet, Tenzin Tsundue is covering another mile in his activism for Tibet by literally walking 500 kilometers from Dharamshala to New Delhi on foot. This time, he is appealing the government of India to repeal its One China policy. In his campaign, Walk a Mile for Tibet, he is distributing pamphlets to local Indians on his way, and an online signature petition is currently underway for the netizens. Let us meet with Tenzin Tsundue while he is on his way to Delhi and learn a bit more about Walk a Mile for Tibet and what he aspires to achieve from this solo march. Welcome to Tibettv, Tenzin Tsundue. Tsundue, it's been 12 days since you started your Walk a Mile for Tibet campaign covering 500 kilometers from Dharamshala to New Delhi on foot. So tell our audience about the main reason behind this solo march.
Yeah, so my mission is to highlight the issue of Tibet. Uh, I believe that Tibet is a missing link, which India is completely missing it out. In the India-China ongoing crisis, Tibet is the answer, but Indians are not getting it. Mainly because India and China started with the relationship by saying Hindi chini bhai bhai, which is to mean say that India and China are going to be friends. But India and China had never been friends all this while for 70 years. India always expected that China is going to be friends, equal partners. But China never looked at India in that way. India had been respecting one China policy, which makes Tibet, China's occupied countries like Tibet, East Turkestan, Southern Mongolia, Manchuria, Hong Kong, and Taiwan as part of China. But China never looked at India in that way. China had always treated India as uh, a scattered nation. And therefore, China had again and again reiterated that Arunachal Pradesh is part of China. China had been troubling India on the Himalayan borders again and again, doing border incursions, and also picking up the Kashmir issue. Um, so in that way, it's never been an equal relationship. Um uh, China condescendingly treated India as a uh, secondary power, even in Asia and in the international politics. China had always treated India um, as um, as someone to really counter, and also in the issues like NSG and terrorism. China treated India in that way, but India always politically felt that it is in the obligation to continue to respect what is called the One China policy. And this is exactly what I am trying to repeal, asking the government of India to repeal One China policy.
Okay, Tsundue, you raised about One China policy, so I'm going to stress on that part. The main demand that you raise is for the Indian government to repeal One China policy. So why should Indian government do that? And when did the government of India adopt this policy? And does China reciprocate One India policy?
But I'm giving 5 reasons, and these are the reasons that I have got it translated into Punjabi, English, and also in Hindi that I usually carry with me in my sag and distribute to people on the way. I have this in Hindi. The 5 reasons why I am asking government of India to repeal One China policy. Number one, I am saying it is morally wrong to consider an occupied country, and India very well knows that Tibet had been occupied by China, and it's been 70 years. Before 70 years, it was India and Tibet border, and India very well knows this. Now, when a government of India uh, recognizes that Tibet is a part of China in this policy, or what is called the One China policy, it is morally wrong to consider a third country, which is an occupied country, as part of the occupying force. Number two, China had never respected one India policy. And when it is in this situation, why should India reciprocate when India doesn't gain anything out of it? Diplomatically, it's a failure. Number three, one China policy is not in the interest of India. In the long term interest of India, India is going to suffer and bleed again and again, and will always be considered the secondary power under China if India feels obligated or does not change this old 70-year-old policy. Number four, for India, it's a very expensive policy. One China policy has proven to be the most expensive policy for India. India has been spending crores and crores of rupees every day on the Himalayan borders. It wasn't like that when the borders were between Tibet and India. Between 1940, 46, 47, 48, right up to 49, for almost about 3 years, India and Tibet shared borders as equal partners, as independent countries. There was no such expenses like that. Now, India is having to not only spend the money, but constantly be in the fear that there may be another incursion from across the border. And Galwan Valley has proved that it's now going to be serious border incursions, possibly losing certain parts of India uh, in the hands of the nibbling Chinese PLA soldiers. And my last reason, and number fifth, after the Galwan Valley, India felt that there is a need to respond to China. And obviously, military is not the answer. Both China and India are equally powerfully nuclear armed, and they cannot engage in a fight like that. And they should not. It's going to be, a bleeding battle. So therefore, India must have come out with a diplomatic political answer, and that political answer is Tibet. Indian diplomatic circles in India are not overtly coming out with the issue of Tibet. I feel perhaps because they think that that they have done too much for Tibet. But I think here the issue is not about Tibet. The issue is about India. For India, Tibet is the only missing link, and with this, India can truly deal with China. Without taking up the issue of Tibet, India can forget about dealing with China. India cannot even understand China. But at the moment, none of the Indian textbooks talk about Tibet. There is dearth of information about Tibet in the Indian population, because the Indian textbooks, from primary school to high school to college and university, none of the Indian textbooks talk about Tibet. Indian population, especially younger generation Indian population, have no idea about Tibet. For them, across the Himalayas is just blank empty space called China. and and only that is main reason why recently Indian Army started to have workshops to educate the Indian soldiers about Tibetan religion, culture, language. And some of these soldiers are coming to Dharamshala to learn Tibetan spoken language and written script. Why? Because India has never educated Indian population about Tibet. India has censored Tibet for 70 years. It is really time to look back, consider this. And therefore, as, as a Tibetan, but someone who is born in India, I feel double duty to work for Tibet, because as a Tibetan, I've lost the independence of my country. And also as an Indian, I feel that India is being bullied by China, and India must not continue to be under Chinese pressure.
Tsundue, your solo march became limelight on social media sites, and we have seen a lot of people, including the local Indians, receiving you on your way to Delhi. So are there any positive gestures from Indian government officials and concerned diplomats so far?
Indian diplomats are the last one to respond to anything that is public. And if at all it happens, it may happen in a completely different tone, manner, and language. And that is understandable. But I think slowly Indian population will pick it up uh, because, as I said right in the beginning, there is a need to respond to China, and that response from India has to be Tibet, because Tibet is China's weakest point. Because with Tibet, and that too by repealing one China policy, India can amass so much of leverage to deal with China. Once you repeal one China policy, what you're doing is India can question China for its occupation of Tibet, East Turkestan, Southern Mongolia, Manchuria, and the pressures China is putting on Hong Kong, and the constant threats of invasion China is doing on Taiwan. All these questions can be asked, and all these occupied countries put together make 60% of China's landmass. Out of 9.6 million square kilometers of China's landmass, which is occupied country. So when you can question 60% of today's China's landmass, you can see how much India can dislodge China diplomatically. And when India does it, many of the other countries will follow suit. European countries, America, are waiting for such sharp weapons like repealing one China policy. And for India, time has come to respond China beautifully. And repealing one China policy is the what we usually say Brahma Shastra.
Okay, Tsundue, my last question is, as a Tibetan, how important do you think it is to carry out more non-violent activities in order to highlight the situation of Tibet at international fora?
The nature of my walk is peace, but it's not a peace march. I'm here with a political agenda to raise the issue of Tibet and to say Tibet was free and independent country. India has inadvertently maintained one China policy, which considers my country, Tibet, as a part of China, which is wrong, not only for India, but for any other country. To say that occupied country is part of China is just morally wrong. So this is a political march, and this is to highlight the issue of Tibet in the Indian population. And as I walk, I am trying to educate and create awareness among Indian population. I still see there is a lot of space to do this awareness building. But India cannot change this policy unilaterally. We need to have such kind of campaigns, repealing one China policy in Europe, in Australia, Japan, America, and Canada, and many other countries. Most of these countries feel obligated to respect what is called one China policy, because China makes it a precondition to trade with China to accept one China policy. And many of these countries don't actually know what one China policy means. So it is important for European countries to know that you may have no borders with Tibet, but for your own business uh, interests with China, you are calling Tibet a part of China, which is completely wrong for countries like France or the United Kingdom or Germany or Austria or, for example, Canada. So all these countries, it is just wrong to consider this. So therefore, repealing one China policy must become a global movement. Everybody must repeal one China policy, and this will help the Chinese people inside China to find freedom and democracy in that country, and so that they don't have to continue to live under Xi Jinping's dictatorial regime. Taiwan must join this movement, and the exiled, the refugees of East Turkestan and Southern Mongolia must also join this. This is a united fight for freedom and democracy for the China occupied countries and China threatened countries. And there are many, many countries who are facing um, uh, dead traps like Sri Lanka or Burma or Pakistan. All these countries must be aware today, because tomorrow you're going to be colonies of China. And Nepal particularly must take this lesson very seriously.
Okay, Tsundue, thank you so much for joining Tibet TV's weekly analysis. Thank you so much.
Thank you.